Hi, I'm Jane Stafford from the School of Weaving, and I am so excited to tell you about this episode. Season 9, Episode 7. My goodness, it's all about honeycomb. Well, it's actually not all about honeycomb, it's a tiny little snippet about honeycomb. So I've created 2 projects for you on 4 shafts. I had so much fun weaving them. One project is for a stack of cushion covers. Haha, right there. I have made 3 cushions, exploring all kinds of things that pushed beyond honeycomb, but right smack dab here in the center of the table is where I started. So we have some pretty traditional, well, possibly not traditional looking honeycomb because these aren't traditional colors. They're bright, bold, wonderful colors that were inspired from a mohair blanket that I had in my living room. So I wanted to tie this all into my home. Anyway, you can see that there are these lovely little cells in the center here that could possibly look like honeycomb. So I ran through all kinds of ideas. What happens if I want a simpler cell? So this is slightly different than the last one. What happens if I weave those cells over and over and over, and can I get stripes within those squares? Yes, I can. What happens if I'm inspired by the graphic and the colors and just want to insert bands of plain weave into the honeycomb to simplify it further? What happens if I want to go back to a simple threading and look at what I call cording on this threading? It's all the same threading. It's a monk's belt threading. What happens if I want to go and change the tie-up one more time and create tufted weft? What happens if I want to take the back of the fabric, which is extremely interesting, and bring that to the front of the fabric? I'll show you because I have it on a cushion. I changed the tie-up one more time and created this. So this has, just by changing my tie-up, it has the tufted weft here, but it has the back side of the tufted weft up here and down here. So all these ways that we can pull our ideas together and how we can explore a threading. It really shows how closely related everything on 4 shafts is. I then decided to go and weave it in true monk's belt, in traditional monk's belt. But here I only used 1 weight of yarn. I didn't use a thin for my plain weave and a thick for my float. I used a thin for everything. Very, very attractive. The last episode that we filmed with Lisa Hill, she taught us about turned M's and O's. So here is turned M's and O's. There is how I wove that side. I brought her tie-up from turned M's and O's over onto this threading. The back side is the same warp, but I treadled the blocks differently. It's truly a super fun episode, but wait, there's one more thing. In our last episode, we took a monk's belt threading or a deflected double weave threading on 4 shafts, and we wove willow into it and reed and other natural materials. So, heck, I'm tying it all together. So that's our first project. I think it's pretty exciting. I know that I was over the moon weaving it, and if I had had another 20 yards, I would have kept going because there was many things I haven't even tried. But there is a sneak peek at one project. My table's a mess, but let's get right into the next one. So the other part of this episode are these beautiful scarves on 4 shafts. If we look down here at the bottom of this scarf, at the border of the scarf, we can see the wavy lines and the cells that are always the telltale sign that this is a honeycomb weave structure. But up above, we have these wonderful ovals They could have been squares had I wanted to. I could have changed the width of the block. But the other thing I wanted to challenge about everything I had ever read about honeycomb was that it was a two-sided fabric. There was a right side and a wrong side, and the wrong side had big long floats. And that is true, but could we create a fabric that had a very interesting backside? And if we make it out of something like wool, or in this case alpaca, we can anchor those floats and they're not a problem. So this fabric has been fulled so that everything is locked together. We end up with a predominant side that is striped, horizontally striped, and when we turn it over, we have our honeycomb side. And I wove it in two colorways on the same warp. So one warp for two scarves. Pretty fun and exciting, I must say. Anyway, you get two great PDFs that will walk you through the whole thing. And it's a wonderful project, and I hope you'll come along for the ride.